IHMS.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إسبادتكم ما تقدركم على مكوف هرر الشاتي بارو ثيجة واتتنا بايسنا نزيف سلام السنة مشا وزالكم بالتابية بورد كلانا كدا دا هواش على برنامج وصورة غزا خان عبد الواسع أحمد تورنتو بيتا هوجي دا هواش على برنامجنا مشي هنا هزال جيبينيا بمتكيرة ورمت خاطر الزالو كيست سوريا وهرر هيرتك سنتر تبزا شو إني باتخون ملامت بورد تتقتلو كتا زوك سوزو يي برنامج تبزا شاشبه لقاح قلقيب نفرن هالوا إلا متبورد إني باخون ما تتقتلو كتا أفيرا غوهوخ.
And we appreciate that you guys come here and introduce. This is Harari Heritage Center. We have established this Harari Heritage Center since 2003, and we practice in here culture, prayer, everything. And since 2003, we've been doing so many cultural stuffs for East Africa in Ethiopia, East Ethiopia and Harari. So, so many functions we do have, especially this year we have a very big event that is going from July 1st to July 9th. It's, we have the 25th Harari Sport and Cultural event, which is going to be done in Toronto. They are coming all over the world this year. I'm wondering, you guys who are watching on that, what names are that? Those are actually members, donating members. This Harari Heritage Center is actually funding by these members. The members' fee, everything we cover for Harari Heritage Center, anything, the bills and everything, we do that. And anything that cultural thing is coming, we are practicing it here. We do prayers here. The prayer room is inside there. We do prayers. Up to now, we are doing 5. Today, the program that actually been introduced by Surya, thank you for inviting you guys. And about, I believe it's about the gun. She may talk about it, and about Harari Heritage Center is this, I can introduce you. I'm one of the board of directors, a secretary for the Harari Heritage Center. Surya is the chairman, chairperson. We can call it chairperson, and Samia is the treasurer, and the rest are our members. Unfortunately today a lot of people are not show up because of there's a wedding, and also it's a Friday, people are actually coming late from work. Possibility that we can give it as a positive. But what we have is actually the Harari media here, that he will record everything and he will pass it. We have a lot of followers from this Harari media, and everything will be actually passed. They will get the information. And again, I will say thank you for coming. And about the program, Surya will talk about it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming, guys. Thank you for your time. I took you, I know, from 51 division to come to this division. Thank you for willingness, for spending time with us as well. This initiative is coming from the Crisis Network Tables. which is when there is some incidents happen from the City of Toronto, that they respond and support any shooting, stabbing, any related to gun violence. They do respond, and they support anything that that's taken place as well within a boundary of this Danvers. And in the past, we have someone else who were covering this riding. She is in maternity leave. The person who's supposed to be here is also, he has another incident that he needs to be responding. That's why he's not here. And he sent some of sheets that I printed out and brought, and you could take it, what is the crisis network does, how they help the community as well. Like what is the crisis network and how do they support the communities. All riding have different person who could support the crisis when there is any stabbing or shooting that's happening in the area. So at the part of incidents, they have a funding that we could apply, and that funding to use it towards healing circle, healing trips, the function that we could use it to overcome or heal the community when there is incidents that's taken place. Usually we are not aware of this kind of stuff because we are not connected to City of Toronto, but those support is available for us. If there is anything happening around here, they could support us. And tonight they cover refreshments for tonight's event, so we could host it, and people could have refreshment as well when they are here. I want to thank you everyone for coming out. And I want you to give you as well a platform and to introduce yourself, who you guys are, which division are, and how do this division could support our area as well. Please take it on.
All right. Hi. Good evening. Thank you for having us. Right. Thank you, Soraya, for inviting us here too. My name is Nigel Thomas. I'm with Toronto Police. I'm from 51 Division.
My name is Mohammed Osman. I'm Nigel's partner. I work in 51 Division as well. I'm in a neighborhood of Regent Park. With Nigel, I've been in that position for almost a year now.
So as Mo had said, then we cover Regent Park area. So we have different units spread across the city. They're called neighborhood units, and we're part of that. So we just specifically deal with Regent Park, right? In 51 Division, we also have Moss Park and the Village and Waterfront, and they all have dedicated officers in these various areas that specifically, cater to the community, deal with whatever issues they might have, any concerns or anything, and then we also do a lot of different events. Public speaking like we're doing today too, and information sharing and gathering at the same time. Unfortunately, I sent and I was just going to clarify that with Soraya, I sent the email out, and it was because it was Danforth, and Danforth is long, so anyways, I sent it out to 54 Division, and technically the division here is 41 Division, so they didn't get it. So 41 Division would be your area over here. After today, I have somebody I know over at 41 Division, a sergeant that's over there, so I can forward the information on to her, and then she can pass it on to the neighborhood officers, and then they can connect with you at a later date, okay?
So they do have a neighborhood officer like you guys?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do.
So if I could explain about what is a neighborhood officers, it's not like a police officers. The neighborhood officer is dedicated to only the call they will take in Regent Park. If there is any crisis, they don't go Scarborough and stuff, but they do cover Regent Park. They are not only helping coming in public speaking, but they do help, and when there is a meal that needs seniors, they do partner with those organizations and deliver meal door to door. If I need Eid toys, I do ask them to help me bring the toys for the kids and candy as well. If we need a parking permit during the Eid time, they do help us get a permit during the Eid prayer as well during the Eid time. It's not one thing that they do, like very humble. If you connect with the neighborhood officers, like when you see the police, you run away, but with them you get so close and you feel I count them like a family. Anything that young people get into trouble in the community, I do call them. This is the situation, what can I do? What is the mom can do? I remember my neighbor a couple of down the road, and her son was challenging her. They used to come like a family and talk to the boy. So they really divert what he was doing, and he cut off what he was doing, to be honest. They do help divert all of the gang, the kids who are involved, and they go to inside the school and speak as well, and they are not limited. And I just want to say thank you guys what you do. And sometimes I wish all the officers to be like you as well. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. In terms of that, I'm one of the more senior guys. I've been with Toronto Police for this is my 26th year right now. And so now we have a lot of younger individuals that are coming in, and they're all going to be going through, Toronto Police has set it up where they will actually do training in the neighborhood and in the community response office as they're just coming out of the graduating from the college, police college. And so all of this kind of filters through all of the new recruits as well too. So they have a lot more hands-on experience and everything as before they actually get out there on the road and start driving around, going to calls. So that's one of the new, moving forward with Toronto Police that has been in the works for the last few years. So today, I think the topic, what we spoke about earlier too, was with respect to gangs and what's happening in Toronto. I know you have specific concerns about what's happening with the New York community, the Harari community. So I will say, like, I was with the gang unit 10 years ago for a couple of years, but I'm not an expert in gangs, all right? There are specific experts out there that can speak on that. We're going to do our best to facilitate and bring our knowledge to the table, which is quite good, and we'll provide that for you. In terms of gangs, yeah, Toronto, we have quite a few gangs in Toronto, right? Once again, it's a big city problem. Toronto has really grown exponentially over the last couple of years, right? And with that comes big city problems, and so that's one of the issues. And you know, we Toronto Police are doing our best to tackle that problem through education, right, and also through enforcement, you know, in order to, you know, prevent gang violence and, you know, try our best to put an end to it. I don't know if you can actually put an end to all these things, because a lot of it is driven by money, monetary stuff. So it's been around forever, but like I said, now Toronto is a big city, and now we're facing that problem right now. So just my thing, and what I would always get back to, and that's usually, for me, it's all about the foundation. And in terms of, you know, kids today, and I myself am a father, I have 4 kids, is that the foundation is very important. First, you know, the parents have to set their ground rules and have a foundation, right? And maintain that as best as they can, right? And I know nobody's perfect. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect as a parent, right? No one is. There's no handbook to it, right? If there was a handbook to it, everybody would be reading it and everybody would be, you know, experts in it, right? But we do the best, right? And we always revert back to what we learned, right? How we were brought up, right? As kids, then we become adults, and then we have our own kids, right? So what I'm getting at is that the foundation, and it all starts at home. It all starts at home, right? So I myself, I'm an only child, right? And I grew up with my mom, single mom, working, everything. But, you know, right up, you know, every day, and I talk to my mom every day, is that I always remember all the fundamentals that she taught me And in turn, I'm teaching my kids that too. Now, it's not the same strict hand that I was brought up with my mom, because society has changed and everything, and you can't raise kids like that. And you know, and there's a lot of give that we have to, that parents have to give today, right? But along with that too is that, you know, the fundamentals of teaching them respect, manners, everything, right from wrong, that still doesn't go away, right? My mom, even though she was single and working hard and everything, she always made the time for me, right? She always ensured that, you know, she knew where I was, right? And as I got older, that I abided by whatever curfews I had and everything. And I respected that with my mom, even as I got older. Even though, you know, technically, if I really wanted to do something, could she have controlled me? No. But, you know, I'm 51 years old now, and I still respect my mom to the fullest. Even when my kids kind of talk to me, I look at them and I think, look at the age that I'm at, and I can't even speak to my mom the same way. And they sit back and think about that too, right? Because it's that level of respect. And I think that's what's, a lot of it is missing. But once again, with all the technology that we have today, social media that we have today, and, you know, the thrill and the glamour of, you know, being part of a gang, and the money that comes with it. You know, when I was a teen, I used to work part-time, and the money that I was making was decent money. But that wouldn't be in comparison with somebody that, you know, fine, they get involved in the gang and they start dealing drugs or selling weapons or what have you. These guys are making, you know, 300, 400, more than that. A couple thousand a day. How do you compete with that? How do you compete with that, right? It's very hard to compete with that, right? And then you try to instill, you know, finishing school, getting an education, getting a job and everything. But then they're looking at what they're gaining from this right then and there, right? And, you know, at first, you know, jail sentences, we're not going to get into all of that stuff there too, because, yeah, there is a problem with the criminal system, right? And, you know, I still believe that the sentences aren't hard enough, right? But once again, it goes back to that. So all of a sudden they get caught with something, and then they're met with what's called, you know, if their first offense and they're a youth, then they get what's called diversion, which is an alternative rather than them getting a criminal record or going to jail for anything, right? Then they have to like do some sort of community service work or what have you or anything in hopes that that will stop all that. But once again, if they get that, then they think, well, I did all this and that's all I got, so I could just keep doing that if that's what I'm gonna get. So that's kind of enabling that, right? So with that, those parts have to change. I don't know, but that starts up at the top with the criminal system with that. So that's one part that's really hard to compete with. Another part is that once again, you gotta pay attention to your kids. You have to be there for your kids. My mom, like, used to go out and play with me all the time, right? And I was laughing, I thought about it the other day too, to the point where she couldn't play with me anymore because I used to like baseball and play baseball. So after a point, I started throwing the ball really hard. She couldn't keep up with that, so then, yeah, I got into organized stuff. And she made sure she was able to put me into some organized stuff. I know it's hard for some families to do, but there's a lot of resources out there that can get kids involved in it if you're not financially ready to put your child into something that's organized like that, right?
Can we also interact and if people have questions?
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I'm just gonna get off with this and then we'll do questions.
Yeah.
So then,
No, while you were sharing, and there are times that we could stop you and ask you.
Yeah.
I was thinking, but while you were speaking here, is there a time that in school, did someone trying to manipulate you and recruit and they're...
well, I was just about to get into
Yeah,
that,
okay.
yeah. So, in terms of that, is that if the child is not getting the attention that they're getting, that, you know, that they need at home, and parents aren't around for them at that point in time, this is where people that are involved in gangs, they see that they're vulnerable, and this is where they swoop in and get them. Because they basically, you know, it's a courtship. It's almost like dating. It's like, you know, they see them, and all of a sudden they say, hey, do you want a drink? I'm going to the store. I'll get you a pot, right? So then they just get them a pot, hand them a pot, right? A few times go down, a few more days later, they see them, I'm gonna have something to eat. You want something to eat? And they're thinking, oh, fine. Why is he being so nice to me, right? Why are these guys being so nice to me and want me to hang out with them? Now they're getting me all these things, right? Before you know it, as time goes on, they say, I have this bag. I want you to go take it over there and hand it to somebody. Do not look in that bag, right? You need to go take it over to them. They might give you something back in return, and you're not to look at anything. Can you do that for me? Sure, right? And then they're on their way. And they think, okay, and they come back, and then all of a sudden they hand them some money or something. Some sort of reward for doing that for them. And this is how they gradually start getting groomed into things. Because they're receiving something that they're not getting from home or anywhere else. And that's the lure, right? And that's how sometimes some kids get caught up in things where they're unaware of it, and they're handling all these things, and then they get caught one day, and then they realize that it's a bunch of drugs, and there's this or that. There was a gun in the bag, and they had no clue, because they were instructed, go do this, go look in it. But on the way going there, they get stopped, or something happens, and then the police come, and then next thing you know, they're just sitting there like, with this, right? And then they can't say anything, because now they're fearful of these people now. So now they're left with these charges. So that's how a lot of these things end up getting played out. You know, I think, and I think that's basically, I'm not gonna say that kids are bad, like these kids are bad, this and that, whatever. People are people. I think me personally, doing this job as long as I have, I can honestly count on one hand, really, people that I've arrested that I would say are like true evil, right? Everybody that I encounter and deal with, right, are generally good, but then an opportunity presents itself, and they think, I can do this, and I might get away with it, and that's when they get caught. Doesn't make them a bad person, they just went for that opportunity to get something, and that's what it was. So, that's basically how these things start and everything. And then the gang culture, when you get inside of it, it's people get caught up in it, and it's very hard to get out of it after. For some people, then they might get caught, get a charge, 2 charges, what have you, and now they're not in school. Now they can't get a job because now of criminal charges. Very hard to get a job. You know what I mean? So that's where that goes. I will give you another instance, and this is an instance where it was one of the times that I was really, really, really disappointed and upset in my career was when a mother herself enabled all these things to happen, right? This mother had lost her eldest son, who got caught up in this game and was a dealer, and he was dealing drugs. And he left, so what happened was that he once lived in this one area and he moved to a different area, but he was still coming back. And that's where he was doing his dealing, even though he was living in another area, and became a part of this other community. This community over here didn't accept him anymore, and they warned him, don't come over here and deal. But he continued doing that. And then, unfortunately, one day he did do that, and he got shot, and he was killed. So fast forward, I think it was not even 2 years after that, and he was about 21. The same mother, and she knew what was happening, but she was in denial, right? To some degree, but she knew. But this time she really knew when her 17-year-old was doing it, because her 17-year-old didn't work, right? Not in school, and he's out between the hours of 5 p.m. to like 3 or 4 in the morning. So where is he? And he's walking around with a whole bunch of money, right? And he's basically paying all the bills, paying her rent. So he's providing for her. How's your 17-year-old providing for you as an adult?
That's crazy.
Right? These are things questions. And they're not in school. They're not working. You already know.
Yeah.
Right? So what happened is that this person ended up getting involved in things and got a warning the first time, got lucky, but ended up in the hospital. And I'll never forget, this kid was cooperating with me, and he was talking to me, and he was letting me know what happened. And as soon as his mom got there, she's like, do not say anything to him.
Okay.
Right? Pardon? Oh, yeah. She said, don't say anything to him. Right? And when we got there, he reached into his pocket, and it was thicker than this. This is my wallet. It was thicker than this. And then he hands it to her, right? And it wasn't a wallet. It was just money. It was just all bills. Handed it to her, she took it and put it in her purse. And maintained not to talk to me.
So she's taking her daily money.
So I was extremely upset because I knew her oldest son, and now it's her younger son. And I said, you're to blame for this. You are to blame for this. Right? You know exactly what's happening, and now you're going to lose another son. So 7 days or 10 days after that interaction, her son was unconscious in St. Michael's Hospital, right? And they were performing emergency surgery on him because he got shot. I think it was something like 3 times or whatever. He survived. First time, the bullet went past his head, but he had a whole bunch of cuts to his face because he was pistol whipped, right? But like not even 7 or 10 days later on, and even the doctors were talking, and they said, all these stitches are fresh. And I told them where it was from. They were like, oh my gosh, and this guy is lying on their table there. Part alive, part dead, but he ended up surviving. So that mom ended up cooperating after that, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that that's where it is. So some parents,
Yeah, they're blind.
some are in denial, some know, and some are benefiting off of it, right? And they allow it,
That's sad.
and that is inexcusable. That's inexcusable. I find that absolutely disgusting.
She should go to
So
church
what
too.
advice do you have for the parents?
For the parent, for which part? For that, or for?
For anything that kids gonna pay for it is because we did not teach them, right? So we always blame the kids, but the problem is starting with the parent not giving them time and attention. So would you emphasize on that and give us advice how we're gonna connect with our kids?
If you don't have the time, I would say there are community leaders in every neighborhood. And if you don't know them, like that's where we can come in. We can speak to the child. We can connect them to community leaders that have programs available for them. You got to look for the early signs though, because nobody knows a child better than their parent, right? So if you see your child behaving differently than you know him to be or her to be, speak to them, see if they're going to school first, see who they're hanging around with, what they're doing with their time. If you need help, because obviously if you're just one parent or even two and they're always out and about and you can't get to them, connect with community members, people who run programs. There's a lot of...
So that is the connection that the parents are supposed to do, because I
Yeah.
see a lot of parents are busy working, coming home cooking, and then they don't know where the child is until they call them to eat and they are not there. So the parents has to be there, right, for the kids first.
If you can't be there, I would say occupy their time. So
Yeah.
if you're not home till
Have
8
a
o'clock at
curfew.
night and your
Yeah.
kid's done school at 3 o'clock, see if they can join an after-school program. Connect with the school to see if they have after-school programs, community center in the area, community leaders in the area to see, hey, can we, is there a program that we can enroll my child in? Just to keep them busy from 3 to 8 till you're home.
Exactly.
Just because you don't know what they're doing for those the 3-4 hours that you're
Yeah.
gone, make sure their time is occupied, right, and account for it. Make sure that they're going to these programs and they're not just hanging out with, you know, people you don't know, or there's got to be some sort of oversight with children today because, in teens today, because of all the influence out there, social media, whether it be that's what we didn't have when we grew up, right? That's a big influence in their lives. They see stuff online and they want to either recreate it, live that lifestyle, and it's things that they don't understand until later on in life. So I would say is occupy their time, stay on top of that, and because we can't all be there, we have to go work, we have other obligations, right? But what we can do is making sure that their time is being occupied by useful things in their life, and that's the number one thing. And then at home at nighttime, just staying on top of it, and that's it. And if you can't do any of that, then I would say reach out to like even neighborhood officers, just say, hey, like, can we see if everything's okay? We can speak to the child, make sure that they're going to these things, kind of help them, right? Best that we can. And if we can't, then there's other resources that we have that we can utilize as well.
I'm hearing that actually the youngs are involved in this drugs and stuff. Once they got in, it is a point of no return. They can't sleep with that. If parents actually knew that their kids are involved with this, and what kind of advice and what kind of help you guys can do if the parent actually appoint you and say, okay, I am assuming this is my kids is doing once he's got in, actually, not before getting in. Before getting in is actually what he did is a very important thing, actually making a compile. Once he got into that, how can you get him out? Is there any examples that you guys have?
We can help and we can educate, depending if they're how far they've gone with their drug use. We have the resources to guide them and facilitate them. We can't force them, but we can help them along the process. We can try to do our best to educate them and get other people that are in that field to connect with them. So we do have resources in that sense, and I think that's what we can do is helping the parent, making sure that they have access to these resources that they don't know about, and they can utilize those resources. Because again, we're very limited as police officers, but we're always willing to help and spend the time and make sure that, you know, that connection is made.
There is an exit, like in terms of gangs, there is an exit plan. That's there is an exit plan that we could offer them. It's not us per se that are doing it, but we can direct them in that direction through the people that will help them with that. There's different services that will help with that, with an exit plan.
So
There is police that, and that is part of the gang unit, actually, that I was talking about earlier. They do have people that do that and help with that, but then we have civilians that are part of that thing, the resources that can help with that.
If I could, in the community, so depend on what stage they are, those kids, where they got involved. And also what is the relationship, the parent and the child. Usually the parents are kind of snitch, the way they communicate with them. If they don't have the skill set to communicate with the parent and the child, that the kids are kind of will be going further. Like at least the parent has to know how to communicate. And I remember one of the parents, and she told the youth worker, and it was huge fight in the house. Like, why are you telling the youth worker? Because they weren't connecting the youth worker and the youth itself. Because you have to know what the style of the child, what language he speaks, and also where they're at the soft side of that you could tap on. And I never seen this kind of relationship right now that's happening. The parents are afraid of the child right now. In a lot of households. Like I never seen like this. The parents are bullied by the child, by the youth.
I see that a lot too, but the one thing I take away from that is it doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
There are stages before it gets there, and that's what we try to tell parents is you can't be in denial, you gotta see the stages early on. Because once you let it get out of hand, it's kind of like Soraya is saying, is now the parent is afraid of the child. That's almost when it's too late. Because the child's not going to listen to you, he's not going to listen to us. Or she's not going to listen to us. We have to get the children and the teens very early on. The small signs, even if you think even if you're wrong and just doubts, it's better than, when things going sideways. So it's early on, there are stages. Again, it's never too late, but let's try to get at stage 1, then stage 10, right?
And there's all sorts of signs and different factors are happening because, and that's the thing, parents they're getting the reports also from school, right? But once again, some parents are in denial and won't accept that and think that their child is fine and doesn't need any assistance, or they're not doing anything wrong, they're being picked on, or what have you. Right? I just read an incident today. I was talking to a principal from another school, and so now this one kid of concern is in high school now, and then I got information that that principal from the grade school had concerns all along, and now that kid's in high school and he's still getting in trouble right now. All right, but they saw it happening all the way through, and the parent. Actually, one of the instances that I just read today, actually, because I was doing a little follow-up, was that this kid, assaulted another kid, was asked to come down to the principal's office, went to the principal's office, and he already had a phone. He had his own cell phone, called his mom while he was at the principal's office. Mom told him, leave the principal's office, come home.
What?
So, she was at home, but she didn't take the time out to come down to school. Like, if I did something at school and the school calls, I don't care how far my mom is, my mom's coming and I know I'm getting it, right? That's not the case here. And that was it. So he left. And then eventually the police went over to his house and talked and everything. And then, then finally he went back to the school the next day or whatever. And then they sorted stuff out at the school and what have you. But yeah. Leave the school. Even though the principal told you to come down to the office, whatever, the parents superseded all that and then just said, no, come home. And she was enabling that whole thing. Now he's in high school. That was in grade school. Now he's in high school. So what's going to happen next? He already has 2 criminal charges that he's facing.
Another thing I want to mention, I see a lot, is both parents have to be on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You usually get the father who wants things dealt with and is a little bit more strict, and then you have the mother who's still a mother and kind of babies that child, and once the child sees that, he knows or she knows that they can get away with anything. They know they're not going to get kicked out, there's no consequences for their actions, and once a child understands that, it is very, very hard to change it, because I've seen teenagers do whatever they want, and the mother at the end of the day comes back because it's the mother. It's very hard, but they have to sometimes get the hard message. And it's very hard because both parents are split on that, and I've seen it almost ruin families, right? So both parents have to be on the same page, come up with a plan and stick to it. Because once the child sees that, they know. They're very smart. They know how to feed into it. They know what to do to get back into the house. They know how to get away without dealing with consequences. We're not, and I've seen parents use police as scare tactics. They know the law. We can't scare them. We can either educate them, we can talk to them, but once they do something and you call us and we can't do anything and they see that, they're going to continue on their behavior. So it's best as everybody gets on the same page about everything and we come up with an action plan. Right? Not today I kick him out and tomorrow he's back in the house, because that is the worst case scenario, because once they see that, they continue down that path. But hopefully we can stop them early on, we can educate them at level 1 before it gets too late.
So yeah, I think this is the best thing to learn for parents, especially when we see that there are a lot of things going on, say, out there when parents say, my kids is picked up, and I don't believe that there are other factors out there that they can say that. Mm-hmm. Not always they are right. There are in some instance they are right. It's picked up because of his color, because of anything, racism, and can be actually happening. This kind of presentation, this kind of orientation helps the parents to actually know where to actually start and where to actually know about it. Not all the time the kids is right, or all the time the teacher is, or the principal is right. There are in between sometimes
Yeah.
you may be having that issues. There are examples that we can see as a community. We receive that the kids are picked up by high school because of his color, because of his background, culture. Those kind of things can happen too.
Yeah, of course.
At the same time, like you said, the parents are in a state of denial. We can say that too. So in this case, to give the community this kind of orientation and then encourage them to interact with the kids is the best information I can say.
And just to touch on that, if you're ever dealing with teachers, police, social workers, all the stuff that you tell the person is confidential. So just be honest, because we all have a sense of pride. We don't want to admit that, you know, our kid is a troublemaker, or we don't. I see it firsthand. You know, you almost want to keep it in-house, but it's best to be honest with whoever you're dealing with. So again, we're all trying to find a solution, right? When parents say, like, just to say, oh, my kid was picked up for this reason or whatever, no, you know your child better than anybody, right? So you know if your child did something or not. It's how do we get past that? How do we fix the issue, right? Because if your child tells you something and you believe it, and you know deep down that's not what happened, it's being honest with them, being honest with whoever you're seeking help from or talking to, whether it's a teacher, social worker, police officer. Just be honest, because we're all trying to do the same thing, is correct their behavior. And I found that a lot of the times in every household, we all have pride and we don't want to admit our mistakes with their child and be in denial, and that's where the denial phase comes in, right? Before you know it, it's too late. So just tackle it early on.
Yeah, shame that comes with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're trying to hide it, and
But we all go through it. Every family has an issue.
Yeah.
It's not, this is a perfect family. It's a part of it. Now it's only going to get worse. Again, we said because of all the influences in their life. Social media is a blessing and a curse. But right now it could be like really bad for kids, right? So.
it's open if anybody comes with.
I have a question. What do you say to a parent who have like as young as like grade 4 and they have social media and they getting bullied and the parent they don't want to listen?
There's what? The social media.
They have social
Like they
media in
say-
their grade 4?
Yeah, and they're getting bullied for the other girls they having Snapchat or whatever. And the parent like we talking to them and they're not listening. What do you say to that?
First problem I see is anybody that age shouldn't have social media. So
They shouldn't have social
yeah,
media.
that's what we
Get rid of that.
So, yeah, that's it. So, my youngest, she does have a phone. She is 11. She's the youngest out of all my kids to get that. Because my oldest one was older than that when she got hers. But she's not allowed to do the social media thing. And it's monitored. So I know my wife has on my 3 oldest kids, she has a spyware thing on there. So my 20-year-old, unbeknownst to her, we could track her on her phone. We could track all of her stuff. She's 20, right? I know exactly where she is right now. I know she's working. She's working right now downtown Toronto. I know where she is, right? And that's the key thing. You gotta know where your kids are, right?
Exactly.
So I know where all my kids are right now. At this moment, I can tell you, right? But like I said, you can't give them these kind of things and not monitor it. You have to monitor that stuff. And yeah, grade 4 is
Too young.
8 years old.
Yeah.
No, 9, 10, grade 4. Yeah, 9, 10, grade 4.
Actually, she's a 9. Yeah. 9.
Yeah, And
That's the
that's
trend
too young.
right now.
That's too young. Pardon?
Yeah.
That's the trend right now.
That's the trend. I know they want to get all that
And
stuff.
when you talk to the parents, they think you're crazy. I'm like, my son is now 16, and when he was grade 9 was the first time he has a phone. I'm like,
Times have changed since like
Yeah.
when I got my
grade
phone
4,
like the
you
last
drop
year
them
of high
off, you pick them up. They don't need a phone unless there's
school. Even if
something,
it's just to
right?
get in contact, but no
Yeah.
social media, because nothing good's gonna come from it at that
exactly.
age,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing good that's gonna come from it.
So you can monitor it. There's forget it, it's the family thing or whatever. Anyways, my wife knows about it. So and then she actually knows other type of spyware that she does on this stuff. So. I even have to look at my phone, make sure not following me. But it's but yeah, you gotta be able to monitor your kid. If you're gonna give your kid those kind of tools, you have to be able to monitor them, right? You can't just let them have it.
If she gets bullied and then she's like, I'm gonna call the bullies. I'm like, why would you call the bullies? You give it.
If you know who it is, I would talk to the school, because if they're going to, most likely they're going to the same school and you know who it is, they can deal with it in-house there before we get involved. But at that age, I would strongly advise nobody use social media, because too many influences that we were talking about. It's not just their friends, it's the whole wide web you have access to at such a young age,
So
right?
dangerous,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I would say get rid of it. If you can't, speak to the students at the school, the teacher, and try to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, we've been seeing the stabbing of the teachers and posted it in social media and local schools, elementary, we're talking about elementary schools.
Yeah.
And it's like, we never seen this chaos that in elementary school. The drug is in elementary school right now. It used to be in high school only, but it's getting worse and it's getting younger and younger, the kids as well.
And are these parents, I would say too as well, now, make sure you monitor. If for any reason you have to give the phone to them, monitor their activities, monitor what they're doing on their phone.
Yeah.
Right?
You
Because
monitor.
there's a lot of dangers out there that we talk about, is like, you don't know who you're talking to online, right? You think you're talking to somebody your age, it could be somebody older. There's a lot of things that can come. You're opening up a whole nother world at the tip of your fingertips at such a young age. So just be very, very mindful of all of that stuff and monitor your kid's phone. No matter how hard it is, that's the age where you have to get them before it'll be too late by the time they go to grade 6 or 7 or 8.
Same thing with my youngest daughter, my middle daughter. They 11 and 15. So they're at home, and that's it. So I forget. I think for the 15-year-old, I think it's 10 o'clock. I think it is that her service is like. So my wife cuts it off, and it doesn't come back on again until like 7 o'clock or something like that in the morning or whatever. Same thing with my 11-year-old. I know it comes out. It's out by like 8, and it doesn't come back on until about 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So she controls the phone usage, so you can't use it. I mean, if she had to dial 911 for any reason, it will work.
Yeah.
But outside of that, that's it. She can't text or send messages or make phone calls or anything. Only 911. That's it. So,
Parental control.
yeah, it's that control thing, right? And they have to accept that. They're not paying the bills for it.
No?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're providing that phone for them. You're paying the phone bill, right? And if they turn around to you and they're not working, and they say, "Well, I'm paying my phone bill," then you got bigger problems,
Exactly.
right? Where are they getting the money from? Where are they getting all the? That's another thing when you start seeing them with different clothes, new clothes that you haven't bought, you haven't provided for them, and they come in with brand new running shoes. Where'd you get that? Oh, a friend of mine gave them to me, or we traded something or whatever. No. We're gonna pack them up. We're gonna take them back to this friend. I want to meet this friend right now.
Exactly.
Right? So you have to be confrontational with you, because once again, you're the parent. You're the parent, right? And that's kind of lost now. And we have to gain that back,
Yeah.
right?
So the 100% solution for the kids is for the parent to control the kids.
Not 100%. Not 100%. Because even though you do all those kind of things, and I've seen parents do all the right things, and then things still happen, but you do the best that you can.
But in your experience, did you see those kids who got neglected get in trouble, or those who are close to their parents are getting
Neglect.
in trouble?
Neglect.
Right? So that is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, unfortunately, everything does start at home. It's we can watch somebody for 23 hours of the day. The 1 hour they're not in presence, it's when things happen. So things start at home. The parent knows the child the best. You see change of behavior. Those are early signs. Things, a child and just human, we don't just wake up one morning and try something completely new. We take baby steps to things, right? And we eventually grow from there. So that is the early signs. And unfortunately, it's the parents who neglect those signs and say, no, my child's not going to do that, my child's not going to. And you even have it. We have people are in their 30s and their parents are still saying, that's not my child got lured into this. And no, this person's a grown person.
Yes.
They can have kids. They should have kids. It's they're that old. But I still see it till today. And that's what's the sad part is your child is the way it is because you are still denying. You're bailing them out of jail. And you're still saying they didn't do anything.
Wow.
Right? We don't know what it's going to take.
Thank you guys coming and give us all this important information. Also, community service, policy service. Welcome to our Canadian community. My question is like, what's the responsibility of family, one family? Most of our family and married communities are very sensitive and secretive people. For example, mom can see a gun of her son. What she have to do in that case?
I said it earlier. You have to put your pride aside. There is no perfect family. There's no perfect person. You have to help that child. Yes, you think calling the police, but you could save his life tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't know if they have a gun. There's a reason why they have that gun. They're either using it to protect themselves if they think, or using it for criminal activity. For whatever reason they're using it for, it's too late. Right? When it gets to that level, they need help. They need help, and there's a big stigma of calling the police, but you know what? It's better than your child being dead or going to jail, because that's just the way it ends, right? They need help, and you need to, again, put the pride aside. Stop worrying about thinking what your community thinks. You know what? It actually takes a lot for a parent to come forward and help that child, and they'll see it down the road. I've had parents tell me, at least I know where my kid is when they're in jail for 2-3 years. They're not on the streets. Because every night they're out, they're worried.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know where your child is and you're going to bed. And they're not home in the morning. How do you feel as a parent? Right? So
What's the immediate action has to do with families that they just have to call the police or police?
Call the police.
call the police because, again, things can go so wrong. Like, I don't want to go down the level of what is happening or the what ifs, but there's got to be an intervention that needs to happen, right? A gun is an extreme example, but before the gun, what's happening? Again, everything is baby steps, right? Your kid's not going to just go out from work one day and just come home with a gun. There's things that are happening before that. That's when the parent needs to. And if you do find that gun, that means you're at level 10 that we were talking about. That person needs help, because tomorrow, there's a reason why that person has a gun. Tomorrow they might not be home, right?
My other question is, how are we going to get community police when we call police station, or we have to go police station and find out who's the community police?
You can find out. You can call the station and find out who your community officers are, and usually you'll get their email. Everybody has a phone, a work phone now. You can contact them directly and ask to meet them and meet with them like this, and they'll come and meet you. All right.
Thank you.
So instead of calling 911, is there alternative number that they could call? Like this scenario that we give, that they could call. You don't want to make a scene and stuff, but you want to...
Like
911 is the only option.
911, yeah.
It's a firearm involved, right?
Right.
There's so many, again, everything's scenario based, but 911 is their only option when there's, right? And I mean, if it's like you found the gun and you shouldn't touch it anyway, because you don't know where that gun came from. You don't know what's, again, there's there's evidence on there, you shouldn't touch it. But if you see it, call 911. There's no other person you call, right, like that. I mean, unless we're outside and you see an officer you can talk to right away, but don't wait.
Yeah.
Do you tell your son that I'm gonna call the police, or you just call it?
Here's the thing.
You call it.
Again, I would say call because again, your son.
Yeah.
I've seen situations, and we've all heard of it, where you call and you tell your son police are coming, and things go completely sideways.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know how they interact with police. You don't want anything to happen. The best situation is if you call the police, at least if you don't give people time to plan, you don't know how your son is going to behave. And if they're at that point, there's probably a lot of things that they're doing that you no longer know. Right? So for everybody's safety, just call the police and let the police deal with it. Right? I can assure you that at the end of the day, long term, that's always going to be the best solution. You turn a blind eye, you turn a blind eye, you turn a blind eye, and again, you're going to be responsible for whatever happens because your child, again, might not be home tomorrow.
Yeah, it's hard when the community has expectation on the family and stuff. When this turn out, at the end it will be worse actually
Yeah.
than getting help, the support that you need. And there's a mental illness also that's involved on this. Yeah. I got a call a couple of days ago. The child is not mentally okay. The brother is in the denial that he doesn't want the child to go to mental illness or college. He has been admitted in the hospital in the past, but he's in the denial. He supports the child, his brother, and the mom is suffering. And he's breaking the house, the stuff in the house, the brother. And she got stressed out because she's single mom as well. It's very fine line as well. The moms also, it's hard for her to open up, and there is a shame on this that involved. And the police involved. When the police involved, they took both of them out because the other one, he doesn't want to go without the other brother. And right now, she want one of the brothers who are mentally okay, she want to bring him back. It's very challenging as well for, especially when you are single mom. We need to remove shame on our head,
Yeah,
actually.
you have to eliminate that
Yeah,
part too.
yeah.
But once you go through GAMH and stuff, they have the resources there too for the entire family. It's not just the person that has the mental illness. There's support there for the entire family, so they can do counseling as well too. But you have to be committed to it.
Yeah.
You have to be committed to it because if you're not committed to it, into going into the tapping into the resources and stuff like that, then the person that's mentally ill, they're not going to get the full rehabilitation that they require because everybody has to be on the same page and have to know exactly, because there's a whole different thing that they look at and that they talk about, and then different strategies on how to like calm a situation down, how to talk, how to get the person get their feelings out and see what they're going through at that point in time. So it's not just the mentally ill person, it's the entire family that has
And also the mental illness, also the gang also take advantage of it, those young person as well.
Absolutely.
So that's also
yeah.
another scenario
Yeah.
that we need to talk about it as well, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, we touched on it. It's we gotta get rid of the stigma and get help. Not just criminal, like mental health. There's a lot of there's a lot in our community. Every community has mental health. Like we have to focus on that. But if you talk to some people, they'll say they're in denial. Absolutely not. Because again, it's the shame and the stigma, and people don't understand it. But the reality is, a lot of that stems from mental health, mental illness. Get the help early on, and
In
What?
our community, it is like a shame
Yeah.
to know about the mental health.
It's a sickness. It's
It's
not
not
a
really,
shame.
nobody believe in,
I know.
nobody accept it, and nobody want to talk about
but
the
it's time.
children too, they don't want to talk about it, you know?
Yep.
Everybody have a problem in their house, but they don't want to bring it out.
Yeah.
And
I know, and it's hard, but it's something that we have to change because I know my parents' generation, they never accepted that. They didn't know it was real, but it's a lack of awareness. But now we know. There's no excuse. So if there's something wrong, go get help. I know it's easier said than done, but that's really what it comes down to. There is something wrong, go get help. Right?
And it's also a different level of mental health, right? Like depression, like
Yeah.
so they have to know the difference. Yeah.
I mean, it is a hard choice, but really it comes down to us and our family, and we have to push. If it's a family member, brother, sister, mother, we have to push to get help.
You know, first you have to admit it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Admit that you have a problem.
Yeah.
But if it's
Then
not,
get help.
but if it's not that person, I mean, there are other avenues you can take. So you can go to your family doctor. Other members of the family can go together. But again, it takes the family as a unit to really help that one person.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously the person with the mental health, that could be their mental illness, is denying it. They don't know. And so they generally don't know. But if I have brothers and sisters, again, it's for them to step up, right? And if the parent can see this, they have to do something about it. They have to go to the doctor. They have to go make sure this person gets help. And if it's the parent, everybody in the family needs to go and make sure that this person gets help.
Yeah, either the game or mental illness,
Yeah.
the parent has to be in the same page. That's
Everybody
where-
has to be on the same page.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's where the challenging right now with a lot of families. So one is admitting there is a problem. The other one is there is a shame exaggerating in their head than finding a solution. That's where the child take advantage of it as well.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of taking a fragile fine line as well, and then also they take advantage of it, that scenario. Like, oh, who's right? Because I could go anywhere I want to, either my mom's side or my dad's side. I could flip around, and it's firm, this is what solution it be, then we
Dr. said, yes, it is, we have a good community. We are in a shape, we are together. But losing 3 or 4 in a number of actually 8,000 or 10,000 people in Toronto, losing 3 is a lot.
yeah.
We cannot afford that because we are very small groups, and then we have to actually prevent this. We have to do that more in order to prevent that. In order to do that, I rely on our community.
Yeah.
The community has to come together. When we call, they should come with us. And this, the time we grow up, there was the children are brought by parents, but raised by the community.
Community, yeah.
Now, the parents are everything. They raise them and they bring them to the world. The community is not that much involved in this case. You are in an apartment, you don't know who is in your neighborhood. When we grow up, the whole village knows us, and if I do any wrong in our sector, my parents knew what happened. Why did you do that? Who told you? You are raised by the community.
Yeah.
That's
knows
exactly
before you
how
go.
we grew up,
Yeah.
and then that is what we need to actually involve in. If our community are come together on all this, support each other, we will do that. I rely on our communities to do that. Spread out this. We know we are a small amount for today. Let us spread out this, let us come together, and we will bring another session like this for the future.
Yeah, I want to thank you again
Yep.
for coming,
Oh,
and I
sorry.
want to thank
Our
everyone
pleasure.
who came out.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful Harari Media will distribute any of those messages and will reach out to a lot of people.
Yeah.
In the past, I've been interviewed by Harari Media, and a lot of people who were really hard time speaking, they did reach out to me. I did connect them with a resource, and I'm hopeful this is another venue of communicating with our community. It will reach out hopefully, and we will find solution. We cannot afford to be silent, and I want to thank you everyone for coming. Yeah, thank you.
Soyayya hoji khana shi muluk de henyo shi zo rap moshawa hoji khana shi lukhzo sahadisu zay bulajte hoji khana shi hachirbe mش نقرا
قد أسام مسانا اللي زنكش الشيء أنت لكن مسانا زال بنشياج ساعات قرا مسانا حلبنا نتي زنبي داش من لجنج بي involve أشالو من لجل وداش community زنبي يموتال يلزال ياج بقد أسام نفران حاسة أو مكان لوداش زينا community ب mental illness ب challenge خاننا بايتالي سبيكتروم اوف منتال إلنس هذا كان جيم بيقل زبو واحد زوت واحد سبيكتروم اوف هذا ولكن قلت لهم بس أنا نقرأ قلت أسام سوليوشن أنا باي ما خا كوميونيتي نيبرهود في سراج بح زاج بح قابورتنا hopefully أحد سوم سيف عش نقرأ big deal انت إن شاء الله يراما يلي ودايس سيبه involve بيا سالخانة قرأ بحاسة ويقولوا ودايس سيبه يلي دايبرتي عشان يزالوجا prvention they both حاسة ممكن بنيجلان يلزالو community زنا بمسارن هالبلد
الكوميونيتي أوفيسر إذا دلاجة زمينتا من غير هشالو
so neighborhood officer عشيليو حل dedicated community بحل كت community بمحل دلاجة specifically community support موشانتا prevention إينا موشا prevention إن زباقو مدرسة حرمة وداش بحيا سانالو من كتب جينج بزي بو كتا من كتب prevent أشياء حل sport شيء بمن كتب involve أشياء حل إيد ساعنا سا من كتب ولداشو busy أشياء ما إيد هدية يجريو حل the Christmas feast أو ذلك سوزو يدلهم إنها شو recognize شو ما مسلم community كل ليك عملت أبحال كل دي جو توي سدي جالو ولداش لي أزوج ده كاندي باجاج بكل يكلاش وإيد ماتش يصير دالو إنها تويز نبي إلي perception police relationship so بجيه تجيبتها تويز نبيم change موش عليك ولكن still long way إنت so far الناس بحد الجوزالو neighborhood officer كنت توي بيم حلو relationship مخلق أماكا prevention شيء أشو access دالي أشياء حلو زياج أخذ سي أي ناج corporate organization با partner رخونو ما donation أغنيالو أزو donation مكتب community اللي release أشالو أزو كذا opportunity حال senior تويج نبي حال أزو دي هرو ما سربي أشالو مينو بوصل بي أشياء حل بجيشي prevention و relationship بخلق قالو بجيه قرا أي community بالتقانا any community به ريساش أمان good relationship عليهم ولكن هي specifically train قانون قرقار ياشو كتا community prevention شيء ياشو كتا مدرسة حرمة وداشو السنة هول early on sport شيء بي involve ياشو هول box أيناش بي بجيش شيء opportunity حل ياشو زال after school program بقرقار ياشو نارو بي life skill شيء ياشو ممكن تبي زي بو كتا دراج جينج بي ممكن تبي نوع اللي كنت ياشيو حل إلي ممكن تروح زيو بيزي ياشو ما عياشو ممكن تبي ولداشو سوبرفايز موشة خانة كوتش موشة خانة صاحب كنت ياشيو ما ممكن تبي قرقار ياشالو ولدايس يولدال النار حاسة وزاشنيو إن شاء الله ميقل زني يخونان continue prevention يايسال شياتو community بيناشانه بايتيتا إن شاء الله
الله دراسة خوج زي لمدنا بيفوساج زي سينا نوشياج بيفز بيزنا كنشي نوك أذانا ما بيجي جرا فاميلي سينا فاميلياج مثلها اللي مسوي بذل دينا الأوا أي المتكاهل والبيزات حاجة بي زود بيهوج لو خلف زاشو لنا أتكس إمبورتانت من نارا خلف جرا
هوج زي لمدنا بشي حل جرا قرقارة يسال نيبرز نستو بزال نتما شلا حوج زي تنافنا بيو سيسسني ولا يقال سيسسني ولا شيشتي بميجالتا وتعصري بميجال لكن ياي نسياج به بجيح اعتدالقنا ما هو جي ديفيد ديجي مسطونا انفورميشن به كلك ال ياي انفورميشن سيشن نخلق ما على سوزنا به على وايد زتا اريا به زال باين مشكله ايني برمام تكشو زي تزال تيوزو منين بين تمثالي دي فركانه يلزال زيات بلمدنا يو خشازانا كوميونيتي زنا كيتزوم سوزنا كا involve yashba spread out khudima ko kala hanasa labek yil bozal tara khabagira amaninta ለመድነ ቢሆጂ ይክሌ ቀደም continue አይሳል ይመስለኛል ይለ ፊዝበ ግዲር ሽክሪያ አሽለዛኽ ሱሪያ የና ኮሚኒቲ ና ፈቲማ ይው ኮሚኒቲ ዝነስጡም ዴጀለ ካራክቲ ለባይቲ ሽክሪያ ዘለብ አሽለማ ኢንሻአላህ ክሌ ቀደም ዘጋህ ተናሻለ አመት ያለይ የመደጀ ሸኻም
سوريا أدم جن ميجل حرر كوميونتي اللي أي نزوم ميجل مخزونتا أيينا شو بجي هذا كوميونتي أشبه أشاب انتشا ومسو يجي ما يسينال إنكزو ميجل مسينا نتزو تنفاش موجا أو سلام مغنيا مساخ ما هو مسنا كا سلوبي بجي إنك هاد كا موتو بنا نزانج شيء توارد صوتا ولا عمرسين بس الدستيمو ما يي فاميليا إنك إذا كانوا جانج ريليتد إذا كده هاد كذا سنة نسا يي نبي جانج شو قلت واحد بس لهذا الشيء بي فندزوم هل من زوم هل أنا يوسو يوجو ما يوجو ما فندزوم من فوق على شيء زي كده.
The City of Toronto be Crisis Network Division hal azobe any مثل حلا أي community لهم حلا أنزل كبو community بهم حلا أحد incidents زخانة ما استابين خانة شورين خانة حشي زخلك أسا أزو community لازم support موش حل بيو أزوم crisis network division إلو زالينتا أزو سيدي بي فندي apply تاشما culturally sensitive زخانة therapy healing circle زخانة therapy لازم provide موش حل بيو community زوبي trauma ripple effect عليه لحول باي تيم حد سوى الجزيت موجسا حد شي زخانة سا كنت تنامي حج أنا حد حج نوسو يسبانا حد كنت زنا بتلاقي جيسو بزيت لا يا حج نامي انتزال الذي كنت تو بزيت كده ترى أنت وي أهل انتنا وي خست ولداش انتنا وي أنا ولداش somewhere connect انتنا أزول بايتي حج نزوم بزيت لا يا أنت community زنا بي trauma زوم أزوكو تكت زناهم impact عشان هل ما normalize كلاشنا long term بي mentally effect عشان هل ناش قرقارة لقينا ما روح زنا support عشان ما والدايسنا family زنا support عشان كده long term خشنا الخشنا سو والدينتنا feeling حالنا appropriate support لقينا كده it does impact عشان هل mental well-being زنا mental well-being زي ما نزبانا سام سفيلت أهل نقامنا ممكن تبي life زنا بي show up ياشان لي زو يزو symptoms زو ورسفيلت أهل كرسي كوج نحل أزيك إنتي trauma بس تلا حدا أنت صح دسو روسونا تحل صح دسو depression اللي حدا هل صح دسو موت أي خشمين صح دسو مسانين خشمين كنت يزوم زلياي نبي أنت experience عشان trauma زبالة يلا بايتي trauma normalize موشما غرغارة مغنيا إناش أمانة زغينا سا والدايسنا أمانة تغنيا لو تويا أمانة تغنيا كت زنا أحد يزخاننا ما أمانة زغينا سا تستبين النبرة بايتي انت إن شاء الله ما first initiative انت إن شاء الله continuous يكوزال شيبي على الميديم مثلا مكا سنترز ودي فرق ما دي جام فيديو هي جماعة زيو غرغارة يغن بوزال اوغا إن شاء الله يغن بوزال اوغا يتخلق البايت انت إن شاء الله ما continuous ينشيو توكاش نغيرا solution نغنيانا community زلمي
لا يا خام هذا النال بي هادم فايدة زي لما يوم انت solution زي لناتو ما دي النال ومقدمة دار رياليتي سوسو يوجيما زال بتشنكيو يسين نقطة زي يبولس أيناش بحمسانا خانا كوميونيتي هايسنا بحمسانا أو رخاش بحمسانا أنا نقرأ حد زو كوتين فاميلي استبيزو أبو تمشتاج بيجي يقرأ ولد ذات حاجة بتكهرمي لو حزاي وحزو يبلعل هاي فيسبوك ولدي مودد بمخنال أو عاد زنا أو كاتشا زنا ولدي مسيتر لي مخنال ما ولدي وزو ولدي اللي فايدة يلام زو شيء يشي لا بي أبو تمشتاج ميقل بيزو مسانا ما أحدينا استاندي نبرك هوجم زي مدن الزون تاما زولاي بزالة شو دبل شي باقرا
قلت يا سام أن دلات نبيكا حرم نتيجة أنا فاميلي زنبي ويساقنا والزلاقنا حرم نتيجة لنفكان الساعة قرا قلت يا سام التا الزو إمباكت عشان أحد ولداشنا إمباكت أنا عشان ناشو إمباكت عشان أحد ممكن تبي الزو أوفركم عشان الساعة قرا دنايا لكم النولج المنبرتي الساعة قرا وسو تامنو ذا وسو المنبرتي ما هشير موشا زي هنا الايزو دمو كوميونيتي سبورت المغنيا يعني سبيكتروم اوف سبب يكون الافركان ايزر واي الناتش ذا رايت سبورت ذا جاينسا دايسنا بنفيت هاشال روح زنا بنفيت ناشانا كوميونيتي زنا الايزو بنفيت ناشانا بايت انت ولكن دينايل بهان نجرا احد التامن كومينا اكسبت ساعة سو وقتي نسبح اكسبت موشلي ساعة سو chance la ganyam roh zo educate moshale di zal shi yachu either way support halqa ele social worker ach there is awareness hal gun violence zo impact zo ka nationalism tawqa be waqt intaqa الناس communities نموتي بملتا أي community بيم زالين تخزال شيء ما ممكن تبي قرقارة نجنياني لزال شيء يو awareness حل بيتي إيلو من البازنا وقتي ملتا ولداج موسالاج نريو حنا يعني communities نمخنا لا community نمخنا daylight بيموت وزال وقت بحنا خا ما دي بيك أزرني وشيء إنت national gun violence prevention day يا خا prime minister زوم announcement اللي أشيله إنت in July 1st يا شال يزو July 2nd دينتا ما يكتم impact زو trauma يكسي community تابع شيء بحال الجال بينتا بعضهم زبورة ده بدرجة أنت so إن شاء الله communities ناو أتمتى قرقارة ناشمة إن شاء الله يشيو يكأني بازال next generation بزال شيء fight زي يوش بوقتي بي نبران إن شاء الله شكرا
سهجين كذا بيرسوساچا أشبه مترام مسان شكرا ترادين تش
إن شاء الله أنا فرق هذا خانة جرا ملسي أشياء الفرق جرا الفرق إذا لسوت هبري ما كونكت أشياء اللي جبتها إن شاء الله so solutions زي الشيء so it's a matter of the right to connect مخنا تزنا نموت بازانا نموت تزنا زي السنة النبي يعني نبازانا وقتي ملتا so أي نبر بازان إيريبيم a matter of the right person بح connect مخنا ماك resources زو مغنيانتا ما mental illness خانا support any support social worker عشان free service any neighborhood بيمحل كتك توي بيمحل لكن connect the right person بح مخنا ماك زال بيو يو إن شاء الله يرجع يقول بوزال وقتي يترقبال بايت انت it's a matter of time ساعات قرا وقت immediately يجنوا يلوخنال وقتي نسي يلوخنال but solution حل إن شاء الله
إيه ومسنا متعمل تاخ وقت بيبن وقت بمير لي سكزارو سواج حفظاشو mental health زوا مواي چنكاش هل ومسنا بمي أورده خكل ترام دي جبن هل كل دي جبه هل بيجي قرا تاني دي جبن بزال mental health بي لقلو زولاي بمدلق زمان أو زو بي مصدر لك نقرأ ممكن تلاش زولاي بمتحسفات لقنا one in five سو تعالى the problem هل
it's too much especially black community نحن consider black community بنتن يعني لازانا Muslim community black community is a mental illness is despicable بجيح شيء زني منا بشيء أجحل إلي ما يلبايت impact بجيح mental illness impact عشان بحال communities هنا either teenager أجو or adult يو قرقارة زلقينا بي it will be too late سحس حد قرا ما إن شاء الله يتفرق زال كيسيو إن شاء الله يشيو awareness مخلق مكا سوزينا قرقارة يجين بازال وقتي قررنا إن شاء الله communities نبي بجيح زلما دسو حل زوكو سو service يو must effort كزالات حلو ما إن شاء الله أزياجو ما حد مسانا المكا collectively solution communities now support يكون بازال أوبا نخلق أنا
شاء الله عبد الواسي بتجيب لك من الأخ. أو
سوريا
جزاك.
تليتا بزالتي شي أمان relations تخلك بحالتي أن قرب لي على مقبلي قشة داخل حلقة أخا زسيرين تايو أين لمدة تايتي ولدا سوايسنا الدبي prominent زيتايو سوايسنا community بزالاتو أزياد تبزو يي mental health لوا يي نشي لإلزال حد task force كنت تتا committee أنا نما أزو يكأني ذا committee يي orientation أشوف more مستمع سوزنا awareness موشا يي أينا prevent يايسال يي نشي help يايسال على نيل زالبي أزو بي أنا نجرا أماني مثلنا يلهم يعني دولة زوم درجار ياشال ما يعني فندياتهم حلا أزو فندبيم سوزو بيتنافى باما يجي زال شيله متمس ناج سوزنا بجيح زيتا حل على نجرام نوكا زال حد حالة حمس تسو تما حتى موتة زال حل أزو كسوم نايزنوكا بجيح وقد بزالوا ما تقول وجزو بزال يعني بجيح شيء لسه ينبرال يينا ياتو يتأمثل لنا فرق ذا يينا كوميتيك أنا نجرا أمان مثلنا أزو كوميتي أورينتيشنات وات يتاوق ذا سؤال به كل دينا كذا سوريا قرقارة زي سوريا بالله كونكشن بيجي عليه على كوميتي بعد سام في الدلقات ما أزو أنا بي ميجل زينانتا I think you عن أتورح قرب.
شكرا لك يو هايلايت مش قبل أزوجته as a board member الناج at least نفر كذا ناو بجيبت حلبن إله قربي دلي community يو responsible كنت بمن سمكا يموش awareness مخلق حلبنا مسو expect ياشال إله شكرا create awareness مخلقة بمكا إن شاء الله they ترأسهم they ديجسهم they قرقارة يجن بازال أوبا إن شاء الله نخلق
كتل برنامج متنبرنا إن شاء الله هذا لايك هذا بركوت
إن شاء الله
اللهم الدبل شكرا جزيلا فيه إن شاء الله لا يمسلي برنامج بتراكسي أما
IHMS